Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from a Sufi house in Tekia, Bosnia. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast that makes ancient wisdom relevant today. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1351. Welcome to our very focused study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We were joking this morning, Kaustubha. We were saying, well, you don't like when I say study the Bhagavatam. For me, it's a study of the Bhagavatam. For you, you're thinking like, hey, we're just screwing around here, going through the Bhagavatam. This is a study. For some of us, it's a study. We're studying deeply the Bhagavatam, talking about it, explaining it.
When I object to that, I'm not denying that there's any truth in it. I'm just saying that when you're communicating, by giving something a tagline,
yeah,
you're trying to give an impression of what's going on. And so if you say study, like remember when we were kids, you'd wake up early in the morning on Saturday to watch the cartoons, but if you woke up too early, they had like, welcome
the
to
national anthem or something.
No, it'd be like, welcome to sunrise semester.
Oh.
It's like just like the most boring thing you've ever seen in your time, So I don't want
if you
people
woke
to
up
think
really
like,
early, it would just be like an American flag with the national anthem that went on forever, or just this, like beep, just like a tone.
Yes, Raghunath, yes. So my point being that people might get the wrong impression by
some people might feel like, you know what, I'm studying this morning. I'm waking up early to study.
Some people
might give them a little boost.
But the tagline's got to have a broader appeal. That's my point.
Hey, guess what? We are at I don't know if you can see over my shoulder. We're at a breathtaking place in the mountains at a Sufi house.
What does that mean?
Can I tell you, Kaustubha? You
like
know, in the same way,
looks like a restaurant.
No. Sufi house is like an ashram.
Oh.
And it's an old ashram here. They built into the mountains. And with this cave, with this beautiful river coming out of a cave.
Looks beautiful.
All the kids are now taking a boat into that cave right now. I have Amar. First of all, we have Mara here spinning the dials. Got to introduce her, of course. Hello, she says.
Hello, Mara.
And Amarananda is going to explain Sufism in a nutshell. In 1 minute, Amarananda. Because Amarananda grew up a Sufi. Did you know that?
I did. He's got that drum he plays. He's
got that Sufi drum. Here you go.
Into our culture, and I appreciate it.
He is an other from Bosnia, from Iran, actually. I'm not allowed to say that, but go ahead. Amarananda.
Yeah.
Hey,
Good morning,
and he's one of the
everyone.
sweetest guys you'll ever meet, Amar.
Sweetest guy, sweet like candy.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kaustubha-ji. And good morning, everyone. I'm sorry that that we cannot show really this place to all of you, but to shortly say, Sufism is a esoteric aspect of Islam, which they wanted to go much deeper than just the promises of heaven, you do good, and so on. They didn't want to trade with God. They wanted to love God. They want to get the love of God.
Yeah.
So that's why even you can see here, they took refuge in this amazing part of the nature, just deepen their spiritual practices, which is very similar to Vaishnavism. A lot in Sufism also is a chanting, praying, dancing, which is represent when you meet the Lord, when your heart when you experience ecstasy of the divine love, you start to
spin.
You start like sometimes we see the children spinning out of enthusiasm, out of love, out of freedom.
Is that what a whirling dervish is?
Yes, whirling dervishes. And this is a place which they want to deepen their spirituality because they believe that there is much things higher than the promises was there, which is about selfless service, love of God. And actually, one other very, very known motto of the Sufism is to be beggar in this world.
To be a beggar. To be a beggar. That's like a goal.
Like you go in the kingdom of God with the mood like a beggar, like I'm empty-handed. Please accept me. Please engage me. That's
it seems like you grew up in that tradition. Why did you become a devotee? You felt like you already had it.
Very good question. It took me a while to feel, am I betraying my, so to say,
Culture, family.
culture, forefathers, ancestors? But then I figured it out that actually it was a very deep conviction and confirmation I received that actually it was their blessing brought me to the another school, Vaishnavism, to bring me further even in my spiritual life. And I felt even my appreciation for Sufism even grew more.
Feel the same way about Jesus.
Yes, I feel the
Thank
same.
you, Marananda.
Thank you very much.
That was good. That was
Yeah, that's
Sufism in a
great.
nutshell.
Thank you.
All right. I think, you know, if I do convert to anything, I think I'm going to convert to a Sufi. I'd be into it. Seems like kindred
okay.
spirits. Kindred spirits. Have your blessings. We'll start another podcast.
Okay. Wisdom of the Sufis.
Start another hardcore Sufi core.
Sufi core. Oh, that'd be interesting. Everybody spin.
Spin. The pit is like they're spinning. Paramanandu, what do you say? Okay, let's get on with the show. What announcements do we have, Miss Mara? Oh, Miss Mara is getting geared up. You know what she's doing in Africa, right? Kastuba?
I know there's a wedding going on.
There is a wedding, but you don't just show up for a wedding.
You
They
tan
have all
first.
these pre-wedding things.
Oh,
Guess
it's one
what
of
one
those
of them
things.
is?
Okay.
And it's not the smartest choice trying to talk her out of it, but she says, no, it's going to be completely safe.
Bachelorette party.
You tell me.
Bachelorette.
Safari.
He's seen too many videos, Mara. He's seen too many.
You know what?
It's too late to
You know what?
unfollow them all.
She did it to herself. She Googled up safari deaths.
No, I didn't.
What-
I was on the New York Times website.
Yeah, she was on the New York Times website, and it said these two Americans
It
dying
wasn't
in a safari. It wasn't a safari.
No.
They went out and they saw a whole pack of elephants, and they're
There
like,
were
"Oh,
elephants
let's take
crossing the road
photos."
in a city in Zambia, which is not the country that I'm going to.
Mara,
It's not the
those
country.
elephants.
Oh, do you think the bull elephants are like what? Oh, those are the Zambian bull elephants. Oh, the Kenya bull elephants would never do that.
Mara, they will stomp you out. Okay.
Yeah,
It's nothing for them.
I'll be safe.
yeah. And you know, ever see those dog toys where you put it's like a ball that you can stick a little dog treat in there and you throw it? That's what those cars are. You're like a lion treat wrapped in a car. That's like you're their favorite food.
What to
Are you
speak of
kidding?
the rhinoceri out there?
Oh, I've heard
forget it.
rhinoceros are dangerous.
You know who's dangerous? Hippopotamus.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of. The
They're
hippopotamus.
very,
are
very
dangerous.
dangerous.
They will ram your car. And
Anyway,
knock it
good
over.
luck out there, but I say no. I say don't do it. You want to put your life in danger? It's your choice. We all have free will in this world.
All right.
Moving on to our announcements.
Okay, thank you, Mara.
Our show tomorrow is 8 a.m. There's no show Sunday or Monday.
Or Monday.
Yeah, Roger's
didn't know
we're both
that.
traveling.
Traveling.
Yeah. There's back
Sorry.
to recovery.
You never know.
meeting.
Maybe I can pull something together. Hold.
Okay.
Yeah,
hold
pull it
Right.
together.
I'll wait on pause on that. one then.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's show is Q&A at 8 a.m. And if you have questions, you can email us wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We have back to recovery meetings 12:30 and 1 o'clock Eastern time today. And we're going back to Tuscany again next year, June 30th to July 7th, 2025 for the 5th anniversary.
And there's like a
Everybody-
discount if you
Well, there's
sign
an
up.
early bird sign up right
Early bird
now.
sign up and it only goes for 28 more days.
Mm.
Okay.
So email WOTSItaly at
Doesn't sound too
gmail.com.
urgent when you say only 28 days.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
like,
guess-
oh wait, I got a week or at least a week.
It's gonna fly by. You're gonna forget about it. Sign up now.
Hey, check this out. Wisdom of the Sages has launched our new online community platform. That's our Wisdom of the Sages website. Instead of using 5 different apps to get every benefit of being a supportive member, you'll find chat, courses, merch, upcoming events, Sweet Baby Krishna, retreat registration, and much, much more, all in one place. They did it. The brains of Wisdom of the Sages, our beautiful community, built this for us. Log on to wisdomofthesages.com. Please subscribe. It's community supported. Yeah.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you. All right. Let's get on with the nuggets, sir.
Okay. This week, our nuggets have not been just ordinary quotes. We've been kind of reaching into current events and newspaper articles and things like that. We'll continue
Yeah.
with that trend today, Raghunath.
Yeah, this is from the BBC.
From the BBC. This is
And
yeah, go ahead. You want?
the title's called "Are Animals Conscious?" It's like, is that like a joke?
Are you I'm exactly right. Are you kidding me?
Really? That's where we're at? It's 2024. You're asking if animals are conscious?
Hey, they're catching up.
It's like they don't even have the words to describe it. It's so
Okay,
easy the way we
well,
explain it.
well,
If it's
hold it,
alive,
slow
it's
down.
conscious.
Slow down for a second, Rhoda. Slow down for a second. So this is a BBC
Oh.
article. This was published on June 15th, 2024, so just a couple weeks ago. And it was written by Pallab Ghosh, who is the BBC science correspondent.
They're all Indians.
Yeah, I'm saying, Mr. Ghosh, you should know better.
Read the Bhagavad-gita, Mr. Ghosh.
Yeah, okay.
Shriman Ghosh.
Shriman Ghosh, come on.
Okay. Charles Darwin enjoys a near godlike
Hold it. Are you going to
status.
read the entire article?
Well, I
Is
don't
that
know.
your plan?
What do you want me to do? I'll do
Well,
whatever
it's a
you want.
long article, so
Okay. You got some
Maybe-
highlights?
yeah, maybe I should just read parts of it, but we can
All
get
right.
it started.
When do you go? When do you
Okay. So he writes, Pallab Ghosh writes, Charles Darwin enjoys a near godlike status among scientists for his theory of evolution. But his ideas that animals are conscious in the same way humans are have long been shunned until now. Well, maybe shunned by some people that really got their heads like
I know
in the
they've been
wrong
shunned until-
place.
Isn't it interesting? Everything we've been always saying for thousands of years, because I've been saying it for thousands of years. Now they're like, but now we realize breathing's important. Now we realize stretching is
All right,
important.
But we've got a lot to read here, though. So, but
Okay.
you're right. I'm with you. He says there is no fundamental difference between man and animals in their ability to feel pain, to feel pleasure and pain, happiness and misery. Darwin wrote.
Hmm.
But his suggestion that animals think and feel was seen as scientific heresy among many, if not most, animal behavior experts. I'm sorry, a child can tell you that animals feel and are conscious. Attributing consciousness to animals based on their responses was seen as a cardinal sin. Yeah, well, that's the point, right? Is you got your like religion here that you call like modern science, but it's so much of it is ridiculously faith-based. The argument went that projecting human traits, feelings, and behaviors onto animals, that's the way that they use language. You're projecting this onto that. No, we're just observing, right?
Sure.
The argument went that projecting human traits, feelings, and behaviors onto animals had no scientific basis. No, it's called common sense. And there was no way out of testing, and there's no way of testing what goes on in animals' minds. Well, you know what? There's no way for me to test what's going on in any other human being's mind. You know?
Their
But
motivation.
if new evidence emerges of animals' ability to feel and process what is going on around them, could that mean that they are, in fact, conscious? Now, here's going to, this is where things,
I
this
just
is where
can't
like,
believe they're even having this conversation.
it's absurd. Now get ready for your BS detector to like start going off. He continues, we know that bees can count, recognize human faces, and learn how to use tools. So they're saying because we're discovering these things, maybe they're conscious. Professor Lars Chitka of Queen Mary University of London has worked on many of the major studies of bee intelligence. Now, I just want to focus on what he says right here.
Okay.
If bees are that intelligent, this is what he's saying, Professor Lars, if bees are that intelligent, maybe they can think and feel something, which are the building blocks of consciousness, he says. Hold it, slow down, hold the phone. You are
Tell him to slow down. Don't
That's
tell
what
me to slow down.
I'm not telling you.
Tell
I'm
him
telling
to slow
him.
down.
I'm telling him. I'm talking to him.
Finally, your slow down is appropriately directed.
Slow down, Professor
Slow
Lars.
it down, Professor Ghost.
You are a professor at Queen Mary University, and you
You
are
have to
using
work
a
so
term,
hard to get that title.
and
right,
you are
in that
using this
position.
term, building blocks of consciousness. Now, hold it. What if you're going to go and throw out a term like that? Then tell me exactly what are the building blocks, and then go into a laboratory and build some consciousness for me.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is for thousands of years, going back to the Upanishads, the sages of ancient India has said that consciousness is something that's irreducible. There are no building blocks. Something is either composed of material energy and is insentient and temporary in its form, or something is made of spiritual energy, which means that it's eternal and conscious by nature. Just open up your Bhagavad-gita, Professor Ghosh, and it tells you right there for thousands of years, and it continues to hold up, that consciousness is irreducible. It can't be cut. It can't be, you don't build it or break it down. If it's spiritual energy, it's conscious by nature. We've gone thousands of years, and although you're so resistant to hear this because it just throws your whole thing in disarray, a child can look at an animal and know that it has feelings. Anyone can tell this. It's
I don't
absurd.
understand. Don't they? What do they think about like animals who've famously saved lives, from
They're just
dogs to sea
machines without
turtles to
feelings.
horses?
Nothing could be more. Okay, let's continue. Professor Chika's experiments show that bees would modify their behavior following a traumatic incident and seem to be able to play, rolling small wooden balls that he says they appear to enjoy as an
Did
activity.
this guy never have a dog?
I know. These results have persuaded one of the most influential and respected scientists in animal research to make this strong, stark, and contentious statement. Giving all the evidence that is on the table, it is quite likely that bees are conscious.
That dogs may be man's best friend.
It isn't just bees. Many say that it is now time to think again. With the emergence of new evidence, they say that a sea change in thinking on the science of animal consciousness, they include, really what's going on here, Raghunath, the way that I see, is if you go back 50 years, the scientists were saying, we're going to create consciousness in the laboratory. And you come back 50 years later, and they haven't moved forward a sesame seed.
One baby step.
Yeah, and so now they're just trying to like kind of play with it and say, well, we say that consciousness is in these animals, and there are building blocks that built it up for the animal too. It's simple. The sages of ancient India, in these ancient texts, it says where you see birth, growth, reproduction, and maintenance for some time.
Dwindling. Don't forget
dwindling of disease, and ultimately death. That
I
means
think I'm
that
at dwindling right now.
we're dwindling, right?
I think I'm dwindling.
But that means that there's a spark of spiritual energy within the material energy that's making it go through those patterns. And we see it. Hey, Mr. Ghosh, it's not only animals, it's plants as well. All right. You may as well just go ahead and take the big leap. Okay.
Take a crazy leap, huh?
Yeah. Go ahead and
Pine trees are alive.
This is, and what, they're going to begin to talk about consciousness on different levels. Let's see what it isn't just bees. They're saying that there's a sea change. This is Professor Jonathan Birch of the London School of Economics. We have researchers from different fields starting to dare to ask questions about animal consciousness and explicitly think about how their research might be relevant to those questions. Anyone looking for a eureka moment will be disappointed. Yeah, because you can't find it with your material instruments. We've been saying that all along. Instead, a steady growth of evidence for a rethink has led to murmurings among researchers involved. Now many want a change in scientific thinking. What they're saying is, the sages of ancient India said, look, you're not going to be able to find it with material instruments. You're not going to be able to perceive spirit directly with your eyes. You have to infer it by looking into nature and observing its patterns. Now they're saying, in the past, they're saying that can't be accepted. There's no scientific evidence, so it's all false. Now what they're saying is, well, actually, we're applying a little inference here. Yeah, thank you. That's why there won't be a eureka moment.
It's like there's an excavator, a backhoe, a riding mower, a Porsche, and a school bus, all different vehicles, and they all have different capabilities, strengths, weaknesses,
right?
And there's a different driver. The drivers are pretty much the same. Some guy gets into each vehicle. Now that driver has this whole vehicle that can do a certain thing. The Porsche can go fast. The excavator can dig holes. The school bus can carry many people. The bodies are different. It's such a simple,
Simple.
perfect philosophy.
What?
Matter of fact, you ask anybody who's ever heard of Krishna consciousness, even if they can't follow the principles or they're attached to the material world, they will all say, you know what? The philosophy is just so damn sound.
Unless you're bent, unless unless you're somehow motivated, whether it's a psychological disposition, whether
Or
it's
you
the
got some
fact that you're being
attachment to your own particular religion. And
or you're being funded, and
funded.
this goes against all of your previous research and so on. Now listen, Raghunath, he continues. He says, what has been discovered may not amount to conclusive proof of animal consciousness, but taken together, it is enough to suggest that there is a realistic possibility that animals are capable of consciousness, according to Professor Birch. This applies not only to what are known as higher animals, such as apes and dolphins, who have reached a more advanced stage of development than other animals. It also applies to simpler creatures, such as snakes, octopuses, crabs, bees, and possibly even fruit
Snakes are alive.
flies.
Snakes are alive. Fruit flies are alive.
They feel, according to a group who want funding for more research to determine whether
I
animals
know, because
are
we need
conscious.
a job.
And if so, to
we
what
spend
extent?
all this money going to school, and we need a job.
So now why not be honest, Professor Ghosh, who's probably spent your entire life trying to deny what your forefathers have put forward? Why not say, the sages of ancient India in books like the Upanishads and the Bhagavad-gita and the Puranas, they've said forever, they've had a theory that they put forward that consciousness is a symptom of a spark of spiritual energy. And according to the different bodies that spark is in, it can its ability to express its consciousness is expanded or reduced. But wherever we see life, that is it is fundamentally conscious. Consciousness is, Prabhupada, and this is what I appreciate so much about Prabhupada. Prabhupada came to America in the age where these different swamis were coming over, and for the most part, they were speaking in terms of, they're talking about meditation and becoming deeper realized. Prabhupada went right to fundamentally said, look, it all starts with understanding that we're not these bodies, that the body is just made of material energy, which is insentient, right? But we are a spark of conscious energy. We're conscious by nature. Our consciousness spreads throughout our body, and consciousness and life comes from life. And he would challenge them and say, don't accept a post-dated check that's saying we're going to create consciousness in the laboratory. They still can't do it, right? It's just of another nature. Then they get into stuff like, they start saying, some are critical, some are very critical of some uses of the word consciousness. Quote, the field is replete with weasel words, and unfortunately one of those is consciousness, says Professor Stephen Harned of Quebec University. It is a word that is confidently used by a lot of people, but they all mean something different, and so it is not clear what it all means. No, that means your bluff is getting called, and now you're saying it's just all a question of semantics. But just open up a frickin' dictionary and look up the word. Mara, could you please give us the definition of the word conscious?
Consciousness, the quality or state of being aware, especially of something within oneself.
Yeah,
Also,
you think? Go ahead.
Also the state of being characterized by sensation, emotion, volition, and thought.
There you go. Do you think, does an animal feel? Does it think? Is it aware? You think a dog's not aware? You can train it to do all kind of things.
How many grants do you need?
How many grants? You give the
You know,
dog.
Chandra writes on the message board, he goes, Prahladananda Swami said that 70 years ago, the scientists did a long and expensive research to find out why spiders build webs. After long research and lots of money, they concluded they do it to catch flies.
Very, very good. Now, this professor, Stephen Harvard, after is like saying, oh, we're really, what the word consciousness means is really the problem here. He says that a better, less Weasley word is sentience, which is more tightly defined as the capacity to feel. Do you have a definition of the word sentience or sentience?
capable of sensing or feeling, conscious of or responsive to the sensations of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, or smelling.
Miss
Yeah.
Mary, you are on it today.
So
You're hot on the
Professor,
mic, hot on your Wikipedia.
So
Good for
prof-
you.
so Professor Harnard, yeah, it was conscious and sentient are essentially the same thing. Can it feel? Can it think? Is it aware?
I would like an article like, do they go to dog heaven? Do dogs go to dog heaven or not? I
We
like
don't
that.
know.
That should be the question they should be asking.
Okay. So anyway, it's like you've got to be trying hard to convince yourself that animals are not conscious. You do.
They don't
You
even
haven't
understand what consciousness means.
you-
We have such a better explanation.
Come
Do we have
on.
to think of everything, Kostuba?
So Professor Ghosh here, or writer Ghosh, or whatever, he should be saying in this article that for thousands of years, a tradition that continues to this day has been
That I'm
stating
part of.
that I was born
My
into,
ancestors were part
that
of.
I've spit all over and probably,
Yeah, mocked.
but that it has said all along that consciousness is the irreducible symptom of spirit, of spiritual energy, of the Atma, right? And these and if that's true, then these scientists are just like absurdly behind the game here. And just to even question are animals conscious, it just means you have no common sense, right? And you're trying to objectify life, where you see, because people were saying the same thing about women, they have no souls,
Do they?
Africans, they have no souls, it's just like it's that kind of ridiculous
Yes.
absurd conclusions that you use when you want to objectify and oppress others.
Women do have souls, by the way.
Thank you for clarifying
Letting
that.
people know that.
All right.
Okay,
so-
let's get to the Bhagavatam. What do you say?
yeah,
We've wasted our time with this
this is
nutty
not a waste
professor.
of time. Not a waste of time.
Narayanam
animals
namaskritya
conscious.
naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madhirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nicham bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to my heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes. With the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, Text
We're still in
13.
the same one. I
We
think
We
it's
still didn't
eight
finish
to
this
12.
verse?
We haven't finished it yet, Ragana. We were
Jeebs.
getting all worked up yesterday.
I was getting worked up. Can't remember why. It was something was
It
aggravating me.
had to do with. I probably shouldn't even bring it up.
Don't bring it up. Okay, I'm going to remember.
No, it had to do with whether we should meditate on Krishna's pastimes or apply
Oh, yeah.
knowledge to the world that we live in.
Yeah.
It's both. It's both.
Okay. Oh, King Yudhisthira. These 33
How about a little context, Raghunath? What are we reading? What's
So we're
going on?
talking about what makes a person who has a human body civilized. What makes them human? Is it just that they get a body, then they're human? And then we say no. It's the disciplines that go with getting a body. Just like if I put a 3-year-old in a car, does that mean they're a car driver? No, they have a car, but that doesn't mean they can actually perform a function on the road responsibly with parallel park the car. Just because we get a body doesn't qualify us to be a human. We have to act in a certain way. And we went through all these things like regulating your senses, being truthful, honest, and then all of a sudden these more refined ones like regular studying of the, regular
Bhagavatam?
studying of the owner's
Shastra?
manual, right? Hearing
Okay.
sacred literature, hearing direction,
Yes.
avoiding unnecessary talk, sometimes being silent, Mara, instead of blah, 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 blah.
Raghunath.
I'm joking. She's super silent. I got to pinch her to get her to say something.
Okay. So yes, so you know, and there's a list of 30 of these principles. I think 20 or 21 of them had to do with things that were favorable for bhakti. You know,
Yeah.
they had
Yeah.
to controlling the mind and
The
being
last ones were
truthful or
really
merciful, being charitable, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last nine or so, these are direct practices of bhakti yoga. These are things that are, there are certain things that can be tied to bhakti yoga. And then there's certain things that are, you know,
directly
directly practices
hearing
of
about the
bhakti yoga.
personality of God and chanting about
That's
these
direct. Yeah,
activities.
hearing, chanting. Okay, so that's where we're
All right,
at now.
so now we're text no, there was the last sentence now.
You sure it's just the last one?
Okay, maybe not. Always remembering the activities and the instructions, trying to render service,
Yeah, we did that one yesterday.
performing worship,
Okay, yeah.
offering obeisances,
Okay.
becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's very self, their whole
So,
self.
yeah, these are running very parallel to Prahlad's, you know,
Instructions of
Shravanam
bhakti. Huh?
Kirtanam Vishnu Smarana that we heard earlier in this canto.
O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. I love when someone tells me what to do in a
Okay.
positive way. Most people we're just like wandering around this world, right, Jacoby? Wandering around, lost, bumping into things, making mistakes. Here you go. You want to become a human? Do this stuff.
Yeah.
And you can also become a transcendentalist.
Okay, so Yudhishthira, the king, is inquiring from Narada the sage about these, and now Narada for the rest of this canto, it's like 5 chapters left.
Well, this is life, isn't it? It's like we get to a point of dissatisfaction, and you find someone who's a little wiser than you, and you say, "I got some questions. I'm in pain. I'm suffering. I'm losing my mind. I'm on my knees. Help me."
Okay.
And then God sends a person to give some direction, who's got what you want. That's sort of what the guru is. The guru's got something that you want, and you say, "How do you get that?" And that was
And-
just the
Okay,
instructions.
but I think we should be clear. These aren't just like instructions for the individual, but these are kind of what we're going to hear now are instructions for the guidance of the broader society, right? Like, and it's going to do something here. When we talk about Varnashram Dharma, let's be clear. What it's saying is that these ancient texts are saying that there are insights into human psychology and into human life in general that we can look and see that society has different kind of leaders, people with different aptitudes that can lead in different ways. And leaders are really important in society because if you don't have good leadership, there's a lot of suffering that takes place. So, you know, here in the, I don't know if you're even aware yet, but there was the presidential debate.
How was
Um,
there? How
it,
was it?
I didn't watch it, but from what I see, it's the whole thing is like, on one hand, you have someone that was lying nonstop, and on the other hand, you had a person that could barely like compose a sentence. It was like,
Please lead
yeah,
the free world, and here's the codes to the nuclear
yeah,
arsenal.
and it's all because of these party dynamics, you know, that democracy kind of lends itself towards. And what was being said here was that we need to recognize people that have aptitude for leadership. We need to create ethical codes, and they need to be trained. They need to go to school. They need to be trained in what it means to lead and what are the specific responsibilities that specific types of leaders have. And that should be widespread. There should be widespread knowledge of what that is. So if you're a business leader, it should be clear what your responsibilities are. And if you're like a political leader or ruler, it should be clear. And if you're a spiritual leader, it should be clear. And if you don't fit into any of those categories, it should also be clear about how you respond to that type of leadership. And in this way, ideally what you do is it doesn't become a tool of oppression, but it becomes actually the tool to counter oppression, you know. And we can talk about that more as we go. But therefore, Yudhishthira, as the king, he was very interested in understanding Narada's, how Narada understands Varnashram Dharma, or understanding the four different occupations, or 3 different types of leadership, and then the occupation for those that aren't that type of leader, and also the 4 stages of life that we go through, and what our responsibilities as a young person, as a married person, as a retired person, or at the very end of life. Where should our awareness, where should our consciousness, where should our focus be? And these are laid out in a brilliant way that, yes, like any other good thing, can be used as a tool of oppression, or it can be used as a tool to counter oppression.
I like that.
All right. Text 13.
Okay, text 13. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadan ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods perform with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma are the Davijas, or the twice-born. Such Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the 4 ashrams: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas.
Okay. So let's break this down. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadan, what's the Garbhadan ceremony?
That's the birth ceremonies. The
Pre-birth,
basically,
the
you're saying
conception
if you're
ceremony,
born into
right?
these civilized cult families that
Yes.
practice from birth ways to engage these kids and control their senses and use their mind, apply those 30 principles.
Yeah. So sometimes I like to share this story, but it just helps us understand Indian culture, which is based off of these, Vedic texts. To what extent it's still vibrant, in Indian families, it'll vary. But, there's a day that rolls around in December every year, where called Gita Jayanti, wherein we celebrate the day that the Bhagavad-gita was spoken on.
Yeah.
And back in the Broom Street Temple days, where I was there with Eddie Stern, and we had and now they're back. Actually, Broom Street Temple's back in the same spot. But we used to celebrate that every year, and the way that we celebrate it was by doing a ritual, wherein you create the sacred fire, even indoors, right? Inside there.
You go wrong.
And we would read the entire Bhagavad Gita verse for verse, and with each verse, they would offer grains and ghee into the fire as an offering to God. And he would bring a priest there, Priest Prakash, an Indian priest, Brahmin, and Eddie and the priest would chant those verses and offer ghee and grain into the fire with each one. And at the end of each, and they would go very fast. And at the end of each chapter, I would speak a little bit I would summarize the chapter. And so one year we were doing that, and Priest Prakash had a little son named Pranav. And he was like 8 years old, but he was already like memorizing whole chapters of the Bhagavad Gita and everything. And in my explanation of one of the chapters, I began to speak about what's being spoken about here in this verse. In America, the most important principle is freedom, right? Like that's what we place at the top.
Sure.
The country is founded on freedom. Hey, you can have any religion, you can not be religious, you can do whatever you want here. That's and that value, I think, is so deeply ingrained in us that we don't think about social responsibility first. We think about personal freedom first. It's what we value highest. Whereas in the Eastern cultures, there was an idea that you even from your birth, you're indebted to your parents and to your grandparents and to your great-grandparents. And so I was saying that if you look at Priest Prakash, he's a Brahmana, right? He's a priest, and he's a person that he performs rituals for the spiritual benefit of others. And his father did that, and his grandfather did that, and it's likely that they can go back many, many generations. And it's always been that way, that one father has handed it down to his son, and the son feels like this may have gone on for 100 generations. And I don't want to be the person that breaks the chain. In other words, our family has embraced this role on behalf of society. And we will continue to, right from the, not even from birth, but even Garbhadana ceremony, even preconception, we're performing rituals and bringing our attention to the idea that we want to bring, this is what Diana was talking about earlier in the week, right? Bring a soul into our body, right?
Right.
Not a ghost, but call, call for a soul to take birth that will help our family uphold this sacred duty that we have to society. And then, so even from conception, what to speak of birth, and then you're trained to own that sacred responsibility. So here it's saying that it mentioned three, the Brahmanas, who are the spiritual leaders, the Kshatriyas, who are like the political rulers, and the Vaishyas, who are like the business owners and the employers, that they would be right from early age. You could see it in them as well. You would invest this strong code of ethics so that would protect them and protect those that would serve under them from exploitation and cultivate the best qualities in us, right? So it's saying that that's what this Varnashram is really all about. That say a business leader gets a deep understanding from early on that my success in business has everything not so much to do with how much money I produce, but how well I care for others and care for society. It's to invest that kind of idea.
This might be the first generation of Indians, maybe the second, who would be like, you know what, we're going to do it our way. I appreciate all the traditions going back for our great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, great-great-great. But you know what? I'm wearing a bikini, or you know what I mean? I'm going to do, just break the traditions. Right. I did this. I noticed this thing when I was teaching yoga. A lot, when you get like, sometimes you'd get an Indian in class, and I was famous for doing hands-on assists. That's where you put your hands, the teacher puts their hand, they see something different in your body's a little awkward, so they'll tell you to bend your knees and push you on the lower back or something like that. Indian ladies would be like, please don't touch me. It's just like they'd have a built-in, no one touches me except my husband. That's just the way it is. And I could get that because I was a devotee, but it wasn't one person. It was many people like that. Mm-hmm. Many Indian ladies are like that. It's just because it's just part of that culture. You don't put your hands. You're not having multiple partners. You're not getting divorced. This is your, it's me and my husband. They're the only one who touch my body. But millions of things like that. And like this is the first generation. We've just become so homogenized. Cultures have become so homogenized in the last, since the information age, pretty much, that it just collapses and becomes sort of truthfully Americanism. Just like we were in Bosnia this morning, and I saw some Bosnian outfits of like traditional Bosnian outfits. And I was thinking, I would love to see, once I cross the border, every one of these Bosnian outfits. Why is everyone looking the same? I'm sick of us setting the standard for what clothing should look like, rituals should look like, habits should look like. Colonialism still exists, and it's perpetuated by Hollywood. And we keep on pushing our thoughts, our ideas, and on cultures around the world. And now everyone sort of looks the same, acts the same, thinks the same.
And I'm sick of it.
Mr. Kostuba.
Okay. Shall we continue?
I'm just trying to think about this. What would I be wearing? What's an American outfit? An Italian outfit? What would I be wearing?
Well, that's the whole point, is America was the blend of everything, right?
Yeah. Anyway. That's why I like lederhosen.
Okay. Leather
pants. You go to South Germany, people still wear it.
A few.
Well, yeah, you can still find lederhosen catalogs. And I was like, good for you. I empower. I believe it. Yes, keep going. I'll support you. Okay.
Text 14.
14. For a Brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or a Kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on Brahmins, but he may make a livelihood by levying minimal taxes, customs duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. Isn't it interesting how we're getting into like rules of running a society now? We go from a spiritual topic to how to run a society.
But the whole idea is they're so closely connected, because if you can run a society in a healthy way, it's conducive for the spiritual practice of the people.
Yeah.
So it's saying there needs to be brahmanas. Brahmanas not only can accept charity, they live by charity. They're not supposed to work a job where they get a paycheck, because they're meant to be
objective.
Totally exactly. And as soon as you accept money from someone, it's likely you become influenced by that. You should be uninfluenced by any external financial interest.
And not just like, okay, we don't get paid, we live by charity, but you voluntarily take a vow of poverty. You want to live as simple as you possibly can, because once you have a lot of desires, then you're like, I want more charity. Give me more charity. But
give me more.
A real Brahmana wants to be so detached that they're not dependent on your money. You give them some money, okay, they'll accept it, but they're not dependent on it.
The Brahmana accepts charity. Amongst those 6 duties, one is accepting charity and the other is giving charity, because if they get anything excess beyond their minimal needs, they're meant to just pass it on.
Pass it on. Because and that way they can't be purchased.
Exactly.
Right? If they're a judge, right? A Brahmana will be a judge sometimes. Or a doctor, even. I think doctors also are Brahmanas.
So some are Shudras, some are. It depends which kind, but yes.
And therefore, they can't be purchased.
Yeah, and
that's what you want out of a doctor.
Yeah.
So many stories about doctors who are doing an operation that you don't need. Not all of them, of course, but there are cases where doctor might do an operation because they need to pay off their boat or whatever.
The way that's even broader than that is like the influence of corporations on healthcare, right? In other words, the way that a Vedic thinker would look at our modern health industry is they're saying that business people that have business acumen, see the health industry as a place to make a lot of money. They look at it as an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And then they apply their business ideas into the sacred realm of caring for the health of another,
of healing people.
Yeah.
Which there's no money in healing people. There's money in keeping them sick.
Yeah.
So
right. Right. It creates a really problematic dynamic.
Yeah.
And so they're saying that kind of person should not even stick their nose into this arena, right? It should be a person that has no financial
motivation
drive
behind it.
Yeah, no financial. Now it says here that a Kshatriya, which means the political. When we think of Kshatriya, this I think this is the healthiest way to think of it. It's really hard for us to conceive of what does that mean. They're not elected to the post. No, they're not elected. They just take it. Oh, well, they're some kind of tyrant or something.
Of sorts.
Well, the idea is that I think the easiest way to think of this is think of you're in a town in the Wild West.
Yeah.
And you got a population of 100 people. And you've received the news over the wire that there's like a band of outlaws coming into your town.
Right.
And you're all looking at each other and you're saying, who's going to do something about this? And someone steps up and says,
50% are women. Yeah, and 50% of them are pregnant or have children.
Okay, right. And then amongst the men, like a lot of them are just not ready to handle this challenge. They're terrified by it. And there are going to be some men amongst them that say, put the badge on my chest. I'm ready to fight. And that person becomes the ruler. Now we're all going to say, what, just the brawniest person is like, well, no, because the society is saying, but they need to accept the direction of the deep spiritual peaceful people. But someone's got to step forward and be the manager of society. It means when someone breaks a law, someone's got to step forward and say, I'm dealing justice.
So you want to have the power, you want the strength, you want the assertiveness, you want to be the bold one. You got to be number 2. You want to be number 1. You want to lead the society. You want to direct people. Okay, great. You got it. You can be number one. You
You
got
don't
to
get
give
any
up
money.
everything.
Yeah, you
You
know?
got to give up everything. And the interesting thing is, it can't be forced. There's a nature of an
Right.
intellectual. We're not trying to push intellectuals to being businessmen. The intellectual will study the benefits of renunciation and they'll be like, yep, that makes sense. I'm going to naturally give it up and find peace. And then I'll be the director. I'm just going to give
Right.
up stuff. And you want the stuff? That's okay. You can be the stuff.
Yeah.
You can have the ego. You can have the brawn, but you got to be number two. You got to
It-
be submissive to those who've given up everything.
That's right.
Perfect.
It's
Harmony.
actually absolutely brilliant, right? And
Brilliant.
the reason why that number one person, the Brahmana, can lead is because people trust them, because they can see through their lifestyle. Look at the simplicity and hear the wisdom that they speak. They just spend time reading these books all day. You know, there's another story. Maybe I'll tell it when we come back. We got a few minutes. I'll tell it. But I have one friend who's a sannyasi. You know, he's a renunciate and a Brahmana, and he wears the clothes of a, you know, the orange clothes of a sannyasi. He was riding on a train, you know, with two elderly Indian gentlemen, and the one was a elderly father, and the other was like a middle-aged son. And the son had his arm in a sling. And my friend said to him, how did you get injured? You know, they're all respectful to him naturally, right? Oh, you're the Brahmana, you're the sannyasi. You know, they naturally should respect that simplicity and that renunciation. And so he responded humbly by saying, "Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing important." And the father said, "No, no, you should tell him." And he was resisting, saying out of humility. And then my friend said, "No, please tell me." So he said, "Well," and this was the story, that he was a officer in the Indian military, and he was driving with his family in his car at nighttime, and they came to a roadblock in the road, a military roadblock. And so, being a higher ranking officer, he said to the person that was setting up the roadblock, he said, "What happened here?" And you know, the person saluted and said, "In that house over there, some terrorists have taken over the house and they have hostages in there." So he's in the car with his family, just driving along on like an ordinary day, right? And he says, "Give me a gun," right? He leaves his family in the car and he starts to approach the house. And somehow or other, he got in a gunfight with the terrorists, was shot and injured in the course of this, and freed the hostages.
Hostages.
Okay, so
That person is a qualified kshatriya.
That's what we call a kshatriya, right? So my friend said to him, "How can you do that? Like, how can you just on a moment's notice put your life at risk, pick up a gun, and you know, put yourself in that kind of danger?"
For people that you
And
don't know, you're not going to get, it's not like they're paying you or giving you a reward.
no, it's he internally he felt it was his duty, but not only his duty, his nature. And this answer that he gave is really profound. He said, "Swamiji, just like for you, reading these sacred texts, reading Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is your life." He said, "For me, this is my life." You know, in other words, meaning not only it's my life and like that's what I do, but it's like this is how I am, right? This is my nature.
Right.
You know,
Right.
when I see that challenge, I don't run away from it. I run towards it. I have it in me. That's the person that's supposed to be the kshatriya, and they don't accept charity, right? Their idea is like it's saying how they make money. How does the spiritual leader make money? They live off the donations of the people. How does the political ruler, this dynamic kind of, you know, protector of society, they have the right to levy taxes. They can, minimal taxes, it says here, right? They can levy minimal taxes. Hey, I'm going to put my life on the line to protect all of you. I'm going to collect taxes that we're going to use to run the society, and I'm going to take from that myself a reasonable, amount of pay. So they can levy minimal taxes. They can create customs duties when people pass through their land. You know, doing trade, they have the right to tax that, and they also have the right to fine people. You know, parking tickets and speeding tickets, things like that. If you break the law, we're going to fine you. Through this, we're going to create a pool of a fund by which we run the town or the city or the nation, and and I have the right to live off that. But the Kshatriya takes pride in, I never accept charity. I'm the giver of charity, right? And the Bhagavad Gita started there, where Arjuna has his most important challenge as a warrior and a protector of society. But he breaks down and he says, I would rather live by begging. And Krishna's like, where is this coming from? You're a warrior and you're talking.
I tell you, you study the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita is like simple. It's so simple to understand.
Right.
You know what, brother? It's time.
All right. We got a lot more to talk about this next week.
Going to bring in Miss Mara, who's been really studying here, taking lots of notes.
All right.
I didn't have my knitting with me. Part of the reason
Oh,
why.
what
we're
happened
knitting
to
here.
knitting? Okay.
Well, we're on a little family vacation today. We
All right.
stopped. All the kids are bored, waiting for an hour.
Yeah.
So in other words, Mara, what
Told
you're
them to deal with
saying
it.
is that your daily knitting is minimizing your ability to take notes and bring us
I'm
good
not
takeaways?
saying that. I'm saying the only reason he thought that I was studying more than usual is because I didn't have my knitting.
I see.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yes, you're right.
And you're saying he's wrong. He's mistaken.
Incorrect. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
What you got?
Carry on, my wayward son.
Read the Bhagavad Gita, Mr. Ghosh.
Please, Mr.
Ghosh, read it.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Ghosh.
Spiritual energy is conscious by nature.
That's what it is, right? It's not that they're building blocks. What are the building? What are? Someone's got to just stand up and call them out right there, right? Oh, what are the building blocks? And why don't you build some for us?
Who's this young man that broke into the scientific meeting?
They'll be like, well, blah 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 blah. Yeah, you
It's
don't
not
know.
that
There are
young.
no.
He's old.
You can't find spirit with material instruments.
No.
Not gonna happen.
The guru's got what we want.
Oh.
He got it. Baby, he's got it. Or she.
That one wasn't bad.
God sends teachers to direct us.
You don't need another one. He's
Sends
trying.
teachers to
see?
direct us.
Own your
That had
sacred
nothing. That one had
responsibility.
not. The first one had some value to it. That one, no, nothing.
How about own your responsibility?
Own your sacred responsibility.
Own it.
Own.
Invest in a code of ethics and train leaders accordingly.
This is important.
Ride in that train.
We're sick of cultural homogenation.
I am.
Globalization, Raghunath. Third world
Globalization.
order. Is this what you're going? Where you're going? Okay.
Yeah.
Want the power?
Klaus Schwab.
What?
Davos, Switzerland. Come on.
Want the power
Illuminati.
and fame? You can be number 2.
Be number 2.
Take the power back.
Want to be number 1? Got to give up everything.
There you go.
And we believe in lederhosen.
I believe in.
I don't believe in it
That's a good
because it's like leather pants. I don't think it's necessary, Raghunath. Aren't they
leather shorts, Prabhu. We don't wear leather pants. We wear leather shorts.
Whatever. It's the leather part. It's not the length that I'm
It's a
talking about.
himsa. It's a himsa leather.
It's not.
From
That's a
all the
lie.
brown
That's
Swiss
you're
cows that have
lying.
died.
No,